Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Are you going to broadcast this later on, Huzaifa? Or are you going live? Okay, you're going live. Okay. Okay, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So today is April 8th. After the break of Ramadan, we are back, alhamdulillah. And we'll be going through the first presentation after the month of Ramadan. So belated Eid al-Fitr Mubarak, to all of the people who celebrate, alhamdulillah. So it's 11:35 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're on my side of the world. You are based in
Switzerland.
Switzerland. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're based in Switzerland. And I've seen your, today's scope is going to be very simple. It's a level 4 exam. It's not going to be detailed. I mean, I may take some detailed things moving forward. So I may ask you some questions, but it's a level 4 exam, which is equivalent to the first years of bachelor's, 120 credits, right? Looking at your resume, it does mention University of Applied Sciences and Arts.
Yes.
Lucerne? How do you pronounce this last name? Lucerne?
Lucerne University of Applied Sciences and Arts, because in Switzerland we have
Lucerne.
three types of universities, like applied sciences and like general universities, and then universities of teaching education.
Okay, so you did your bachelor's in business administration,
Yes.
international management
Yes.
for 4 years,
Yeah.
and then
No,
you
it was
did
3
your
years.
master. Sorry?
3 years.
3 years, okay.
Yeah.
2021, okay. 2021 to 2024, okay. And then you did your master's in applied information and data science, which you're doing right now. I'm
Yes.
assuming it will end in September of 2025.
Yes, that's the tentative time period. It could happen that I may have to prolong it. It depends on the ECTS obtained,
What is ECTS?
like European Credit Transfer Scoring System, because we have to have 180 ECTS.
Okay.
So in case, for example, in every semester, I'm supposed to do at least 30. And if, for example, if it just so happens that I fail a module or two, so I could just prolong it, I will have to make up for that module in the next semester.
So did you fail some of the modules?
Unfortunately, I did, but that
Okay.
should not be a problem. Yeah.
Okay. And then it mentions here you were working as a freelance IT support field engineer, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Back in 2018. Was that like in Switzerland, or was it like which part of the Switzerland are we talking about? Which city?
Primarily, I dealt with the French-speaking part of Switzerland. From like Geneva, Lausanne, Fribourg, this side of Switzerland. But I did my education in German-speaking part of Switzerland.
Yeah, I mean they have two places, right? One, they still have a German territory, right? Where they speak German, right?
Actually, they have four, like
Four.
German, Italian, French, and then there is a small part of Romansh.
Romash. Okay. Okay, that's a different language.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you started doing, like you started studying with us, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So there was a gap between 2021 and then 2023. What was happening there?
No, because I was also like studying full time from 2021 to 2024
Oh, okay,
because I was
okay.
doing
So
my
you were
bachelor.
studying. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. All right. And now this is business development and licensing trainee. Anewon A.
Yes.
What is that?
Avionage, it was a bio tech startup where I was a business development and training trainee. So I
Okay.
did that during my 5th semester. It went on for approximately 7 months.
So what do you want to do? I mean, just give me 1 minute. So let me ask you, what do you want to do? Like you are transitioning yourself into DevOps, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Uh, what is the game plan? You did your bachelor's in business, and then you are doing your master's in applied information and data sciences. How much fee have you paid? Is this free? Is this like, what is happening?
I think the fee is equivalent to as I would pay in Pakistan, for example. So for my bachelor's, I paid like 800 and I suppose 10 Swiss francs per semester.
So how much is was the full degree fee? Like how much is
For example, I would say full degree fee, 24, I would say like 4,000, 5,000, all in all, 4,000 Swiss franc or to 5,000 Swiss francs.
4,000 Swiss franc, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at the Swiss franc, The only time I have to deal with Swiss franc is when I have to buy international standards, right? Swiss franc. So 5,000 Swiss franc is equivalent to roughly almost $5,800 USD.
Yes.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. You can do your whole AI ops in half of that, while where you're sitting right now with all the specializations and everything. I mean, if you select all the specialization. So, what made you change, pursue DevOps? What was the reason?
I mean, initially I was enrolled in cloud cybersecurity. I mean, I did the Linux part, and then I think I grew fond of it, and then I just continued on learning. And I think during my bachelor's degree, there was a module called information management, and it was all related to information. So I think from there on, I also developed a bit of more interest. So therefore,
Okay.
I also decided to change my fields, like my studies, to also towards a bit technical data science.
Okay. So, what I'm looking at is basically in Switzerland, a DevOps engineer can expect to earn a median salary of Swiss franc 115,000 to 120,000. In some cases, if you are Kubernetes certified, if you pass your Kubernetes exams and you do all the labs and everything, you can go up to 135,000 per annum, right? Is that a good salary?
It is considered a good salary because if you start as a fresher right after your bachelor's degree, I think the most that you're gonna get is like after taxes and everything is around 4,000 Swiss francs per month. And before taxes, I think it counts toward
It's like
5,500.
48,000. So we're talking about 48,000, even after the degree,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Even if I add the taxes and everything, so instead of 4,000, it might become 6,000. So we're talking about 7,200 something, right?
Yes. Yeah.
$72,000 per annum, right? But if you
Yes. But
do,
here they
you
also
know,
include 13 salary as a custom. So you also get to take a 13 salary at home every
oh,
year.
okay,
Yeah.
every year. So that's a top up. That's a bonus
Yes.
kind of.
Yes, sort of.
Oh, they
It's
call it
like
the additional pay. They call it the
13
additional.
salary, we usually call it.
Yeah, I'm just reading online, okay. 13 salary. So it's like 13 months. Okay, that's good. Hmm. Okay, Bismillah Rahman Rahim. Okay, so the exam is going to be pretty straightforward. If you want to take notes, you can take notes. If you want me to repeat some questions again for clarification, please ask for it. You will present your presentation as per the topic given, which I've already reviewed and taken notes. So there's a lot of notes I have. So I will be going through all of those things. The topic is Diploma in DevOps and Cloud Advancement. It's a level 4 exam, right? Serverless architecture and DevSecOps for continuous security in multi-cloud environment on AWS, Azure, and GCP, right? Um, you have to use and show me fast, open fast for serverless functions and check OV for continuous security checks, right? Uh, by and large, in Europe, there's a lot of emphasis on open source, right? So you will, even if there are cloud elements, and there are cloud elements, and all of these cloud companies are there, Microsoft, Azure, GCP, because of all the global situation happening, now there are more business opportunities for private companies to open their own cloud providers, right? So the world has lost faith. I mean, it was a given, everyone knew about it, but no one was talking about it. The world has lost faith in what the US does, you know? So it's dangerous to be US enemy, but it is fatal to be US friends, as one of the person, I think it was Franklin D. Roosevelt, someone said that, I can't remember. Henry Kissinger, right? He said that. So um, it's a very well-known quote, right? So the European Union has recognized that, and knowing that Switzerland is one of the part of the European Union, it comes under the NATO as well, so on and so forth, right? Is that
No,
correct?
Swiss is not actually part of EU.
It's not part of the EU? But it still
No,
comes under the NATO protection, right?
no, I don't think so.
I think so. I mean, because like they have been impartial for quite some time, right?
They are like entirely, I mean, they say they're entirely neutral, and I think they are to a certain extent.
Okay, yes. So it is part of it's a neutral country. It's not a member of the NATO, but has been long-standing valued partner through the partnership of the peace program, enabling it bilateral cooperation and sharing of information and experiences, right? So it's like friends with benefits, as we call it in the West, right?
Yes, yeah,
So it's a
exactly. I
friend
think
with
that would be the
benefits.
right term.
Yes. So it's a non-binding obligation, but still they come under the umbrella of they have the Swiss armed forces have taken part in the NATO-led international peacekeeping uh, since 1999. So they have been part of the NATO indirectly, right? But one thing, what I'm trying to tell you is that the European Union and the Scandinavian countries and the other countries, they have realized this, that we cannot rely on US anymore, right? The US foreign policy has killed more people as compared to the collective wars happening in the world. It's a US foreign policy which is killing people even in Palestine right now, right? And all over the world. They start the wars, they lose the wars, and then they run away with their tails, between their legs, right? This is the part of the US. Unfortunately, they don't learn anything from the history, and they keep on repeating these mistakes. I hope that the new administration, which is there right now, is able to shut down all kinds of these wars happening, so on and so forth. But what I'm trying to tell you is that if you pay attention in your diploma, and you know, and if you have some good ideas, you can start your own cloud company, right? In Switzerland. There's another thing that you can do is like there are many startups coming up, propping up in Switzerland and around the EU, which is where they are focusing more in developing their own basically local systems, local architecture, so on and so forth, right? So you are sitting in a land of opportunities right now, right? So there's a ton of opportunities for you, which can be tapped, right? For starting a business, finding a better job, so on and so forth, right? Have you started applying, or do you still started applying?
Actually, I just started applying, but so far there hasn't been a positive response. I think I need to reevaluate what's going wrong.
Because your resume
Yeah,
is not a resume because it's just two pieces of paper and I'm
yeah,
reviewing it
I
right now.
understand that. Yeah.
Yes, right. So your resume needs to be improved.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned some things, but this is not the one that we have developed, right? I think this is something,
No, that's the one
or
I got.
yes, but this
Yeah.
is like this is not the right one. So you have to get it right. That's one thing. The other thing is like as part of the examination fee, you have access to Al Razak program, right? So if I right now, if I search online, right, Indeed Switzerland, right, because our goal is to get you on the job first, rather than from anything else. Our goal is to get you on the job as compared to doing other things, right? So if I go to Indeed Global, right? Go here and then S. Yep. And just type in DevOps. So I can see, more than 600 jobs in DevOps and Linux administration, right? But if you open the jobs and if you look at the jobs are focused towards getting you uh, on a specific, pathway, right? So if I show you
Yeah.
this, right? Linux DevOps administration, DevSysOps administration, right? If you look at the jobs, experience platform DevOps engineer. So as part of the Al Razak, if you answer the questions and say, I want to live in Switzerland and this is where I want to work, so on and so forth, right? Home office means working from home, right? Remotely,
Yes. Yeah.
right? So there's a ton of opportunities for you, right? As you can see, Azure, GCP, AWS, that's the same things which is mentioned in your topic as well. So when you do the labs will cover all the key things, right? So Kubernetes, Dockers, Bash, not Ruby, but some of them, yes. but like mostly. So what we will be doing is like we'll be covering you at least 10 job titles from these 600 ones, right? And based on those 10 job titles, there will be at least, I would say, more than 1,500 to 2,000 tasks you have to do. Report writing, labs, configurations, all of those things through an interview preparation as well. So that's one thing. Al-Nafi Cloud is there. So you will get access to all of that thing because Al-Razak program is now part of that thing, right? So you will get access to all of those things, inshallah. One of the things that, and this is where you will be working, Al-Nafi Cloud, right? Those who just wants to register and just do their labs, and nothing else, some labs, they can do that. But you will be given specific tasks, right, that you have to complete and perform, right? So this is the AI ops, right? But you will get something similar, which is only going to target the area that you have right now, which is
Okay,
DevOps. Okay.
DevOps.
Based on the title, based on the presentation that you're doing right now, I've already asked them to start preparing your Al Razak program, right? But one of the things which is not mentioned in your resume, uh, is like, where do you want to work? So what is your working status here in Switzerland?
Actually, as long as you are studying, you are allowed to work, I think 40%, because in Switzerland, like there are percentages. If you are a full-time
Or
student,
you
if
are on
you're
student visa right now?
yes, because I'm studying full-time.
Okay. All right. So you have to plan yourself because once you complete your studies, you will be allowed to work.
Yes, I mean they give you a 6 month time period to find a job. Yeah,
It is going to be very important for you to complete the labs, complete the Red Hat parts, complete the OpenShift part, complete the Kubernetes parts, complete all the roles and responsibilities that the employers are asking you for, because your resume will then be at least 3 pages long, right?
I
Right
already
now, if I look
finished
at
the
your resume,
preliminary labs and I think to a certain extent some part of the main labs.
no, there is, so you will be given a different part. You will know.
Okay.
You will be given all of those things. This is a new program. This is Al Razak program. If you complete all of those things, we will be able to even connect you with the employers over there in Switzerland. So that's another benefit to it, right? But
Okay.
obviously, some of the employers are asking us for student visa as
Yep.
long as you've completed your studies. Some of the employers are asking us for basically work permits or like, PR or blue card in Europe and some other places, right? So it
Okay.
depends on work authorization. You need to have the proper work authorization before we can
Yep.
send you. But if you complete some of these parts, you will be able to, inshallah, go there and work quite comfortably because the barrier is going to be the passport you are in right now, right?
Yep.
That is going to be the biggest barrier. To
Yeah,
break that
true.
barrier, you need to make sure that you prepare yourself, and embedding AI is going to be very important for you as well. That's another thing that you have to work in because AI is coming everywhere, right? And that's going to be the challenge for you, even in the DevOps side as well. Uh, the presentation is going to be 15 minutes. After
Okay.
15 minutes, we will go through a Q&A session, which is going to last from 15 to 20 minutes, something like that, right? We will stop taking exams, hopefully by June. So there won't be any exams. Those who have registered before June will be able to apply and go through the presentation that you're going through right now, interview and presentation, or they can just go for Prometric exam. So we are introducing Prometric exam because of off-call requirements, right? So that's a good thing. The other thing is like we now have the authorization to open a university in UK and in Canada as well. And if you want to open anywhere in the European Union, we can do so as well. So there will be a form which is known as a NAFE intent form, right? The form is a NAFE intent. So if you go online and this is the form, anyone can go online and they can fill out this form, which is anafe.com/intent. You can type in intent, it will resolve, or if it will automatically resolve to intent hyphen form.
Okay.
This is the form where we are planning to open our campuses in these countries, right? But before we start and we can do that in 3 months' time. In the phase one rollout, these are the countries. In the phase two rollout, we will look into the European Union and the other countries as well. Essentially, we will be residing in 90 plus countries. That is our goal,
Okay.
right? Inshallah.
Okay.
So you can fill out that form, or anyone who's watching this can fill out that form, and it's a small payment of $10 that they can pay, and they will be then given access to the early access list. And if we have 300 students registered, then we can open our center there as well. So who knows? We may be able to open in Switzerland, right? Right now, we are opening in UK and Canada, and even in USA as well.
Okay.
The USA is going to start next year because right now the immigration policy is all upside down right now. They're going through a lot of turmoil phase, right? So that's one thing. So go through your presentation. If you want to take notes, you can take notes. If you want to ask questions, you can ask questions. I will start the timer. You can share the screen.
Yeah.
Once you're ready, and then we proceed, inshallah. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Share your screen, please, and I will start the timer.
So my screen is shared. Is it visible?
No, I can't. Hold on. Yes. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Proceed, please.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Good evening, everyone. I'll be presenting this topic, serverless architecture and DevSecOps for continuous security in multi-cloud environments as part of my diploma, level 4 DevOps and cloud enforcement. The order of the presentation is going to be the following: serverless and FOSS, evolution, different services model, simplified CI/CD, and then there will be a simplified application deployment sort of a diagram. And then I will be touching base on risks in serverless application and what strategies could we employ to mitigate those risks. So what is a serverless? First thing first, it's a cloud native model that allows developers to build and run application without having to worry about the underlying infrastructure. This term can be, at least in this term can be used interchangeably, at least in this case, with function as a service. So what is a function? Function essentially is a self-contained unit of execution that runs in a response to an event. It could be an HTTP request, it could be an message queue, it could be a database trigger. And functions also have some characteristics. For example, they are ephemeral, meaning they execute and shut down on their own. They are short-lived and isolated, and they often consist of a business logic. Just like everything, every system, it too has its pros and cons. For example, if we look at the pros, cost-efficient, pay-as-you-go service, for example, we will be only paying for the services that we will be using. It does come with automatic scaling, faster time to market, high availability and fault tolerance, improved developer productivity. I say improve developer productivity because if developers are not busy debugging the application, meaning they will have a lot more time on their hands to do more productive things. Cons, for example, cold start latency, limited execution time. For example, I suppose AWS Lambda has a 15-minute execution time. And then vendor lock-in, when using cloud native functions, limited control and customization. We don't have any control on our infrastructure, so we don't see what's going on under the hood. And debugging challenges, it is very hard to debug if we have a very complicated application running on the serverless architecture. So here we have evolution. How did we move here? So as you can see on the y-axis, we have increasing focus on business logic, and on the x-axis, we have a decreasing stack management. I mean, earlier on, we used to develop each and everything on bare metal. And then on bare metal, we used to deploy our virtual machine. On virtual machine, we used to deploy containers. And these days, we don't have to worry about these three components. Nowadays, we have this serverless option available. So this is again in continuation with the previous slide. We are just going to go a little bit more in depth. So as you can see on the first column, we have a traditional IT setup where, for example, we used to have our own data centers. On data center, we were responsible for networking, servers, virtualization, operating system, runtime application, and function, each and everything. It is really a headache if you don't have a qualified people, skilled people. It's a long headache. And coming back to the second column, infrastructure as a service. So the gray color that you see, these are the things that will be managed by cloud provider. For example, in the infrastructure as a server, the only thing we will be responsible for are functions, application, runtime, and operating system. Coming to the platform as a service, the only thing we are responsible for is function and application. And when it comes to function as a service, the only thing we will be looking after is we just have to code. We just have to write our functions, and that's it. The only thing we'll be responsible for is our functions. And here is our simplified CI/CD pipeline. So here in the first column, you see here is a developer who pushed the code to repository. And even in this step, as soon as the developer has pushed the code to the repository, we can make sure that the best coding practices have been followed, and we can have this code peer reviewed. And in the second stage, before we compile, we are just going to run some tests. It could be like SAST test. And for example, we could also integrate here Git leaks just to make sure that we do not leak, for example, a seeker's credential inadvertently. After these tests, so after scanning phase, we can move on to the build phase. From build phase, we can move on to unit testing just to make sure that the chunk of code does what it's supposed to be doing. And from there on, we will be building a Docker image. And before pushing the Docker image to a repository, we will again be carrying out a scan just to make sure that our image does not contain any vulnerable packages. And then as soon as we have pushed our image to our repository, and from there we could deploy this to our infrastructure. In our case, for simplicity's sake, I've put Kubernetes, because eventually this function, at least in this case, since we are running open fast, so they will be running on Kubernetes. And then the last phase is monitoring. So here is again a short, a simplified version of a deployment. So for example, here is internet. Our users come from either from user application or mobile application. And here is our API manager and router. We have set up a 50-50% traffic split. This front door, it's act as a load balancer. So it will send the user's request to appropriate backend services. It could be order, cart, inventory, because essentially these services are running as a microservices on a managed Kubernetes services. And on the left, you can see we have a PostgreSQL Event Hub notification and storage blob Azure monitors. These services are essentially needed. For example, we need a database to store a structured data. Event Hub is just to have overall pictures of what's going on in our functions or in our cloud environment. And this Event Hub output we can use later for predictive machine learning or for many more things. And notification hubs we can use, for example, as soon as an individual places an order, he needs to have verification. We will be sending an email right after the order has been processed, and an email will be sent. And we have a storage blob to have our unstructured data storage. For example, it could be a PDF image or it could be a video. And then we have an Azure monitor. Just to Azure monitor, it will give us essentially what's going on in our cloud environment. Coming back to AWS side, again, we have here Route 53 load balancer. API manager will send the traffic to the appropriate microservice, backend service. And again, it's also running on AWS managed Kubernetes services. Again, here we also have PostgreSQL, SQS, and simple notification service, S3 CloudWatch. Again, it does the same thing as Azure side. However, in SQS side, I have used this service in SQS side on SQS because it's a buffer matches between API manager and service. Because as I said, these functions are running as a microservices at the backend. So if we for example, if there is an enormous load on our application, so in this case, we could run these as an asynchronously, meaning as soon as the user has requested something, the request will not be processed immediately. The request will be processed later. It will be put in the queue as long as the required resources are available. The pod will go and pick up the request and then execute the request. And then we have S3. It does the same thing for it. For example, it stores unstructured data. As I said again, it could be a PDF document or audio, video, or anything like that. And then again, we have a CloudWatch just to get an overall picture of what's going on in our cloud environment. So for risk in serverless application, I mean, serverless application also have their risks. For example, function event data injection, broken authentication, insecure third-party dependencies, overprivileged function permissions and role, inadequate function monitoring and logging, insecure application storage, denial of services and financial resource exhaustion, serverless function execution, and flow manipulation, improper exception handling, and verbose error messages. So how can we mitigate those risks? For example, function event data injection. Since function are event driven and they tend to consume input from different event sources. So in this case, what should we do is we should not assume, we should not be making any assumption about the input. For example, that the user will give us input what we have intended. So just to make sure, just to be on the safe, and what we will be doing is we will be making users web application firewall, and we will be using an API to sanitize the user input. So broken authentication. It could happen that our application it could happen that our application is like taking input from a cloud storage service, and where in our for example, it could be a documentation, it could be a document, it could take that document as an input, and if there are any misconfiguration on that bucket, so we are just it will serve as a rough entry point, so to say. So in order to mitigate that, we could use a single sign-on, or we could go for a cloud native identity and access management solution. So the third item is insecure third-party dependencies. In this case, we could use a trustworthy third-party dependency. We should make sure actually, and also we could just mitigate this by a shift left approach in our CI/CD pipelines. The fourth item is overprivileged function information and roles. It could happen that functions are not set up properly. If functions are not set up properly, and if functions are not set up properly, if they are overprivileged, a bad actor gets access to it, and it manipulates the intended logic of the function, getting a privileged access, or it could lead to a denial of services attack. So what should we do in this case to follow least privilege principle? Just give those permission to function which are essential to perform the intended logic. And the fifth item is we have inadequate function monitoring and logging. If you have a complex application deployed on a multi-cloud environment, it's really, I would say, a pain to have an adequate monitoring system. The function that the logging system that cloud services provider provide us, it's just not enough in some cases. It does not provide a complete security audit trial. So in this case, what we can do is we can have our own custom logging and monitoring mechanism that will be fetching the logs from the cloud providers and to sending it to a separate security information and event management system. And then we have insecure application secret storage. For example, as we continue to add more functionality into our application, the application becomes more complex and it's difficult to manage. For example, API keys, database credentials, or encryption keys. So what should we do in this case? We should make use of either cloud provided key management services or a third party one. I think a single sign-on, something like similar, a single sign-on would be a good fit in this case. And then the second item we have is denial of service and financial resource execution. For example, I mean, if we found out that a function is vulnerable and someone has got access to our function, it may allow attacker to manipulate the logic of the function, or such as, I mean, when I say manipulate the logic of the function, I essentially mean is um, the bad actor may let the function run or let it over execute it, thereby leading to function becoming unavailable to others. Resultantly, it will lead to inflated builds. So what should we do is, in this case, we should set execution time limits. For example, the function, if the function does not completes, for example, in 5 to 7 minutes, the function should get shut down, or and one more thing that we could do is like API throttling. And the last thing that we can do is proper access control for functions. And then we have serverless function execution flow manipulation. In this case, for example, if an attacker has, again, it's just building onto the last point. If someone has access to our function and he gets access to our function, it could just change the logic of the application. And if it changes the logic of the application, meaning it has access to to that particular function, and that particular function is unavailable to everyone. So in order to mitigate that, what we can do is, I mean, in this case, I believe there is no one size fit all approach. So what we can do is we can have we should not make any assumption about the invocation pattern of that particular function. Invocation pattern, when I say invocation pattern, I mean, we should not say that only a particular event can trigger that function. And then the last step is improper exception handling and verbose error messages. In this case, for example, errors such as stack errors or syntax error, which are exposed to end user, may reveal more information than actually needed or than actually required. And in some cases, we may be providing the internal logic of the function or our applications. So in order to mitigate that, what we can do is we can, if possible, we should display a custom error message, or then there are also like API gateway provided simple error messages that do not reveal more information about the internal implementation. And with this, we have come to the end of our presentation. I am ready for now question and answer session.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Again, the scope is pretty limited, but I'm going to ask you some questions regarding,
Yeah.
all the key area. So let's start with the easy ones first. So given the serverless architecture, right, diagram, if you have to propose a redesign that mitigates a security threat of a denial of service attack, now how would you do that? If you have to change one thing in there, if you have to redesign the whole, architecture that you proposed, or you have
Yeah.
to post some kind of amendment to it across all three cloud providers while ensuring that active or active passive region failover, as you showed, right? The front door and the back door.
Yeah.
What would you do to make it like, more robust and more resilient to denial of service attacks? What would you do?
I mean, for
And this,
example, supposing if a denial of service attack has happened, and that will primarily, I think, come from our own functions. So what we can do is, I think we should be following best coding practices when it comes to functions. And
you mentioned some of the things in your presentation, like the rate limiter and stuff like that.
I
Bring
mean,
those things forward.
okay. I mean, first thing first, I mean, I think if someone were to just break into our function, that would be, I mean, a weakness within our own functions, right? First of all, first thing first.
Okay, so you can set up functions timeout, right? That's one thing.
Yes,
We
like
call it,
execution time limit.
yes. What else is there? What can you put in
Uh,
to make sure like there are more alerts coming in?
exactly. For example, if we have our own security and event management systems, or if we look at the event sub, it should tell us, for example, if there is an anomaly detected. For example, if an API, if supposing like an external API is being called simultaneously for a very long time, it should give us an indication that there is something wrong. So in this case,
Mhm.
what we should do is we should isolate the function in question, like sandbox or quarantine.
Okay.
And then, for example, if supposing there was a vulnerable package, so if the update has not been available, so we should just quarantine that function in question until then. As soon as the update is available, we should just update the function, carry out some preliminary checks, and then redeploy the function again. But I guess if you were asking how would I change this diagram, I failed to see how would I do it by because I see if the function was vulnerable, it will be through our own weaknesses. Someone has gained access to that function because the rest of the services, I mean, the architecture, we are not responsible for it and we don't have access to the underlying infrastructure.
I mean, the infrastructure is separate because as a cloud provider, they're only providing you the the virtual machines and whatever infrastructure you need, right? The
Yeah,
physical layer is beyond you
yeah,
because you only have to manage the logical layer, right?
exactly.
They manage the infrastructure and everything, but from the logical layer, you can deploy a lot of controls. There's a in the Route 53 you mentioned, there's a latency-based routing.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
exists in there. And in the Azure, as you have mentioned,
yeah,
there's Azure Manager, Traffic
yeah,
Manager,
yeah.
right? And then in the GCP, you can use cloud load balancing,
Okay.
right? Nowadays, these global load balancers, as we call them,
Yeah,
they now have application firewall built into them. So any traffic that is coming in, you can
yeah,
inspect it, which is something you mentioned.
yeah.
Okay, so why would you use Azure, Monitor, as you mentioned here,
Azure
and
Monitor.
CloudWatch?
Mhm. Yeah.
There, in your diagram, you see Azure Monitor at the bottom,
Yes, yes.
right?
Yeah,
So there's a Azure on the front door,
yeah,
like right in the
yeah,
middle,
yeah,
storage blob, then there's Azure. So in the Azure side of the cloud, there is a Azure Monitor.
yeah,
On the AWS side, it's the CloudWatch, right?
yeah.
So why would you use both of them together for monitoring the same application tier?
Because
Wouldn't
application
that introduce observability or in a serverless multi-cloud architecture? Like, can you suggest to me a resolution strategy using some kind of, you know, feature or some kind of thing that you would like to use to justify its compatibility in the serverless sense?
actually, I guess you got cut off somewhere. Could you please repeat the question again?
So, in your diagram, it is mentioned Azure Monitor and CloudWatch, right?
Yeah.
Why would you use them together? Wouldn't that introduce, inconsistencies within the observability in a serverless multi-cloud architecture? First of all, answer
For
me that. Is it good
because
to use both at the same time? Or,
yeah,
or, you know, what would you do
I mean, in
differently?
this case, I deployed them for simplicity's sake because both of those services are like separate. I mean, both of those. I mean, there are. I think the application is same, but there are two instances of application running on the different platforms. If we had, for example, like supposing if we had a federated system, then we should not have been using this sort of architecture.
Uh, when you were going through the course,
Yeah.
how long did it took you to prepare this presentation?
Um, I guess 2 weeks to
Two
prepare
weeks.
the presentation.
So, so during the preparation time, when the topic was given to you, when was the topic given to you?
I think before Ramadan.
Before Ramadan. Okay. So let me ask you, did you study about the federated solutions and architecture?
Yes, I read up on these things.
Okay. Okay. There's a lot of labs created for federated architecture in the Al-Razak. That's why I was asking you, right? So you have to do those to understand the hands-on aspects of the federated uh, stuff as well. So essentially, Azure Monitor and CloudWatch use different metric models, right? They're both
Yeah.
different. They both use different event life cycles, and log retention strategies are different. This can cause time synchronization drift, event misalignment,
Mhm.
and inconsistent alert, thresholds, because both treat systems in a different manner, right?
Okay.
So, what is a solution that you would employ to address these three key issues? Time synchronization drift, which is very important. All the systems needs to be on the same NTP server, network time
Yeah.
protocol.
Mhm.
Uh, all of them needs to be all of their events being generated by both the cloud environments needs to be aligned properly so that we don't have any event misalignment within the SIEM,
Mhm.
security information event monitoring,
Yeah.
so that we have less inconsistent alert thresholds. I don't want to get a lot of thresholds like alerts all the time, right?
Yeah.
What is the solution for that? What would you
Um,
use
yeah.
so that you can put all of them together and
Yeah.
have one pane of glass to review it? What would you do differently?
I mean, apart from, for example, a custom logging mechanism.
Yes, you're
Uh,
getting close because this is the
yeah.
interview question, right?
Yeah.
We have multi-cloud environments,
Yeah.
logs are being generated. What would you do? Yes, you said log management, and you
Yes.
said like, we need a syslog server,
Yeah.
but what would you run on top of that logs to visualize and see everything? It's mentioned, you did the course on that
Yeah.
in your
For example,
DCS and Dev.
yeah. I mean, on that, for example, we need to have a system running like a Kibana or something that shows us the
Yes,
real-time
yes,
analytics.
Grafana, Datadog.
Yeah,
Yes, Grafana,
Prometheus,
Datadog,
something like,
Prometheus,
yeah.
Loki.
Yeah. We should
Exactly.
have something,
So
yeah, that tell us, yeah, that
this
tell
is
us
what
that
you have to go.
yeah, sorry, please go ahead.
When you're sitting in front of the employer, this is how they're going to ask you. So you have to
Yeah.
prepare yourself. The questions I'm asking you are job based. The topic is given to you is job based.
Yeah.
So even if you are able to answer these questions, you said you only took you 2 weeks,
Yeah.
but the labs, when you do the Al Razak labs of the same topic, it will take you 3 months, and you'll be pulling your hair out, saying like, now I know, after losing all these years, that I now understand why Faisal Bhai is bald. Yeah, I mean, I'm bald, right? This is what happens. Okay.
Okay.
And it's tough. I'm telling you, it's tough,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you have to work really, really hard on that. That's good. So since serverless architecture execution has some constraints, uh, there are some lightweight exporters, right? And
Yeah.
async spans are crucial. This is very important because you have to sync up everything, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. You know, environment variables, right?
Yeah.
We have to evaluate, why using environment variables to store uh, the credentials of the cloud,
Mhm.
serverless architecture, the Kubernetes deployed serverless containers.
Yeah.
Uh, you have to store the secrets.
Yeah.
And you found out that, uh, first of all, how would you find out like there is some kind of violation happening uh, where the secrets are not secured in a compliant and secure manner? How would you find out? How would you find that out?
For example, as I said in my CI/CD pipeline, in the scanning phase, if we, for example, deploy a Git leaks,
Mhm.
where we run the test, I mean, it should tell us that there are secrets that are being exposed. We can do this via, I suppose, pre-hook.
Do you call
It
that
should,
standard when that you have to use to run to make sure it sniffs out insecure secrets storage, within your cloud environment? What is it that, you know, it's named after a bee that stings you? What do you call it?
There's things. Okay. Mm, that's things. Okay.
What was the name? Have you watched the movie Ant-Man?
No, I have not.
Have you read the comics?
I may have, but I guess it was a long, long time ago.
No. So there's a bee
Yeah.
and then there's a wasp.
Okay. Uh,
I'll give
okay.
you the answer. Come on.
Yeah, I suppose OWASP something? No.
OWASP, yes. OWASP, you know, has all the insecure. There's a requirement in OWASP
Yeah.
to basically scan the application for insecure secret storage, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Ant-Man wife in the comics was Wasp, right?
Okay.
So that's why I was giving you the thing. I haven't watched the movie, but I've read all the comics, right?
Okay.
Anyway, so because that's how I improved my English back in the days, right? That's so I still remember everything,
Okay.
everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so environment variables, they can easily be leaked via logs, so we have to debug tools, runtime and introspections, do all of those things. Now, propose a compliant alternative across AWS Azure, as you have mentioned, to secure these things. What does AWS and Azure provides where you can secure these storage credentials?
Uh, Key
I don't see
management?
that in the diagram.
Yeah.
So first of all, in the AWS aspect, what do you call them?
I guess AWS key management services. For
Secret
example,
manager, yes.
as
Okay.
yeah, secret
And
manager
for
as soon
Azure and
as
in Azure,
Azure. Mm, I guess secure. No, it's not secure apps.
you can stop your screen sharing because
So,
already
yeah.
looking at your presentation anyway. Okay.
Okay.
All
Sure.
right. So
Yeah.
uh, so let's do that quickly. Okay. Uh, in the Azure is Key Vault, you know,
He was okay.
where it's secure policy based, right? So all of those things.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It's close enough. From the presented architecture you have, you
Yeah.
know, you have to, if I ask you, identify a latent vulnerability
Hmm.
that could be exploited, function chaining, function
Hmm.
A invokes B and then invokes B, invokes C,
Yeah.
this is called function chaining, like Lambda functions, right?
Yeah.
Is implemented without proper access control.
Okay.
Explain to me how would you enforce zero trust invocation between serverless functions?
0% integration. Uh,
Okay, it's okay. I always throw out a tough question
okay.
to see how
No,
deep
I just have to
exploration
draw a
is.
diagram. I mean, in my mind, I mean, how would it go on? So, I mean, in
Yes, I mean
function
the topic.
invoking.
No, yeah, the function invoking. It's a zero trust invocation strategy. Like
Mhm.
you create resource-based policies, and you
Mhm.
don't give access to anything. By default, everything is denied.
Denied, yeah.
So this is how you start. And if they need access, you only give them access to what they need. This is the invocation strategy. And if you see that that person is not there, doesn't need any access, then you
Mhm.
remove them. There are also JWT-based authentication, Java-based
Exactly,
web
yeah.
token, right?
Yeah.
In our systems, we use that a lot.
Okay.
Uh, you know, so we use that between APIs using OIDC tokens, and the API gateway is another one which we are using ourselves in the AWS architecture a lot, right?
Okay.
Okay, so let's jump on to some of the other questions we have.
Yeah.
Hold on. There's a traditional IT setup, there's a IaaS, infrastructure as a code, there's a platform
Yeah.
as a service, there's a function as a service, right?
Yeah.
There's an app as a service, there's a storage as a service. Everything is running as a service nowadays,
Yeah.
right? There's
Yeah.
AI as a service, right?
Yes.
So what do you see the role of the DevOps team in that everything as a service? What do they have to do, to play a pivotal role in terms of securing the applications?
I think these days a role of a DevOps engineer is more than a DevOps engineer because they have to simultaneously carry out this. They have to simultaneously look after the security aspect of it, deployment aspect of it, then monitoring aspect of it, and then I guess the AI component has also been added to this role to a certain extent.
Okay.
Does that answer
So
the question?
what do
Or?
they, yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, what do they have to do to monitor the applications in real time? Like for application performance monitoring, what would they do differently to ensure that they are able to review everything clearly in real time
In
from the
real time,
API
for
perspective?
example. Yeah, I mean, in I guess in our context, we could say that, for example, if they have deployed like a custom security information and event management system where all the logs are being pulled from those services and then they are like transferred to our own custom security and event management system. From there on, they can have a holistic picture of what's going on in our underlying infrastructure or underlying environment. Sorry.
Mhm. Okay. Given the CI/CD pipeline in the diagram that you mentioned,
Yeah.
there's a build, unit test, Docker, image push, Kubernetes, right? The whole thing that you mentioned. Identify the weakest point for the supply chain compromise within this whole, process, and
Mhm.
explain how DevSecOps tools like Check OV or any other tool that you know of, open source, proprietary, whatever, should be integrated for the maximum security coverage. What would you do?
I think the one thing that I've realized, I mean, is like dynamic application testing. For example, I mean, supposing initially we ran all the tests and there were no known vulnerabilities, and then we came to know that there was a vulnerable package that we are using. So I guess in this case, dynamic application, sorry, test testing, we should implement. And as soon as we have found out, then I guess we need to update and redeploy it.
Okay. How's the test going so far?
I guess it's okay. Not, uh, it's okay. Yeah, not
Okay, all right.
as hard as I expected.
You want me to go harder?
No, 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 no. Or maybe I just my coffee, so that's why I'm feeling that way.
That's good. That's good. I mean, the scope is very limited. I don't want to go deeper because level six, it's a fight club. In level four, we are just, going back and forth with Q&A, right? There's no hard talk. And level six exam is hard talk, right? Okay, so what would happen if the GitOps model
Yeah.
shown in the architecture is not tightly coupled with runtime infrastructure state validation? It's very important. Runtime infrastructure state validation is what defines what will happen in a multi-cloud active-active setup or active-passive setup, right?
Mhm.
So what are we trying to avoid? Something very, very common that happens. So
Are you talking
when we do
about?
runtime infrastructure validation, that's
Mhm.
when we decide, okay, things are in a secure manner. So what do we do?
I mean, yeah, are we talking about runtime, application runtime, or
Yes, in the GitOps model, what is the role of the runtime infrastructure state validation?
GitOps? I mean, looking at, I
Okay,
mean,
let
in
me ask you,
serverless,
have you played the game? Have you played the game Need for Speed?
yes, I have.
Everyone plays Need for Speed. Come
Yeah,
on, right?
yeah, I have
If
actually.
someone, if someone is not playing Need for Speed, something is wrong, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so what happens when you skid the car? What do you call it?
when you skip the curve, you
No, no, when the car is skidding, what do you call it?
uh, like drag or
It's a drift.
Drift,
right?
sorry, drift, yeah. Okay.
In the context of GitOps,
Yeah.
runtime infrastructure state validation, what is it trying to find out?
That the actual state is actually the desired state.
Yes, the drift between declared Git
Yeah.
and the actual infrastructure state.
Yeah.
Okay, this is
Yeah.
very important. That's what it does. And then it tries to find out if there's any potential configuration vulnerabilities like secrets exposed, misconfigured tokens, orphan services listening to on public IPs. There's a ton of
Yeah.
things that we have to look. Okay, good,
Okay.
mashallah. That's good. Uh, uh, my goal is not to, our primary goal is to prepare you for the job. It's not, you know, give you a tough time. We won't look smart if we give you a tough time, right? If we prepare you for the job and you secure the job, then yes, that way we will be looking much more smarter, right? That is our goal. You will get the degree anyway. You will get the diploma anyway by just passing the exams and all the assignments. And like in Pearson HND, there are no exams, just assignments.
Okay.
The days of memorizing is going away. In your degree in BS,
Yeah.
we only have three questions in your degree that you did.
Yeah.
Is there like any written exams?
Yes, all of them had written exams.
What's the value? I mean, are they adding any value?
I think if it depends on the context. For example, in I would say in local context, it does make sense because in our last year of education, we all have to pick up a specialization from various
Mhm.
topics. For example, marketing, business psychology, data, or like there are so many these days. And there they really get hands-on, and then they get a bit tough because at the end of the day, exam in Switzerland are like 6 CGPA based systems, and out of six, you at least have to have four to be able to pass.
Yeah,
So
but
they do
like,
help.
written exams, instead of giving students something to memorize, they should be allowed interaction with those things so that they
Yeah,
learn how to work, you know, in the environment rather than just memorization, right? So root
yeah,
memorization, going away,
yeah,
right? Right? You should have the skill of report writing. You should have the skill of communication. You should have the
yeah,
skill of interpersonal skills and all these things, and the hands-on experience in terms of working within the systems.
yeah,
But no, none of the long paragraphs writing and stuff like that will not give you the edge that you need to secure the job, right? Or
true,
even to start a business, right?
true.
I'm pretty sure all the teachers who are teaching you, they have no experience in terms of how things work in the market per se, because most of them are just academic teachers. That's how things are even at Harvard and Stanford. So I wouldn't be surprised. There might be one or two teachers who might be still working in the industry, but most of them are not, right? So they're just professors,
Yeah.
right? So check the teacher's profile, LinkedIn profile. You will know if they're working somewhere.
Actually, for us, for University of Applied Sciences, because teachers are those who are working part-time in the industry. For example, for the lectures we have, like I picked international financial management. Like either they were working in KPMG or, for example, or they were working in EY. They were
Oh,
from the
so mashallah, that's
industry.
good. So they are
Yeah,
bringing people from the industry to teach you.
exactly. Yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's why it is known as the Applied Science University.
exactly. Yeah,
It is good, mashallah. It's good. So when the why the function execution, flow, especially vulnerable to attacks,
yeah,
such as event injections
yeah.
or improper retries, when using asynchronous services like SNS,
Mhm.
SQS,
Yeah,
Azure Hub Events. We use
yeah,
SQS, SNS for two-factor authentication, providing them tokens and everything. But it is vulnerable to attacks such as event injections or improper retries. And I'm going to give you an example. This happened a few days ago. A student came to us and said, I'm trying to regenerate the token and to log into this portal because, we have to uh, clamp out fraudulent activities. So when we did that, the student said, I can't log in. and I'm trying the token given to me, but I can't log in. You know what he was doing? He was doing
What?
improper. He kept on sending the message again and again,
Mhm.
and the AWS SNS blacklisted him. Said like, this email is asking for tokens so many times in the
Mhm.
past few minutes that that we see that there's a event injection happening or improper retries that we have to bar it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So the developers came to me and said like, this is happening. I said, go back and check the logs, and you will see why he's being barred up, right? And
Mhm.
we found out he was doing improper retries. He doesn't even know what he was doing, but he was getting frustrated
Yeah.
because he was not patient enough. Because when you send the try,
Yeah.
you will receive an email 10, 15, 20 seconds, 1 minute, something like that.
Yeah.
Once you receive the email, then you try the token. Don't go gun blazing trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
So,
True. Yeah.
what do you do to avoid this attack? This is a very good
Uh,
question.
yeah.
DevSecOps.
I,
What do you do?
I guess API sanitization, I would say. For example, if someone is trying to make API sanitization about the input. For example, if someone is trying to make a numerous requests within like a given time frame, so or API throttling, or should I say? So it should bar the user from sending any more requests.
I'm trying to
Or
stretch your answer to see if it meets my requirements.
so I
Uh,
have to be more,
you
yes,
have to be more
clear,
precise.
specific.
Like one of the things you do is like you use input contracts with JSON schema. That's one
Okay,
thing for to validate pre-execution,
okay,
right? The other
yeah,
thing is like you enforce, uh, we call it the idempotency tokens,
okay. Items.
ID potency tokens to
Yeah,
reply protection using, use DynamoDB or Redis.
okay, yeah.
And the other thing is like we use AWS WAF rules
Web
on
application
API
firewalls.
to filter known bad actors. Like it might be real as well because people can do that. So if that happens, because we do testing of our own system continuously as well, right? So we just want to make sure that everything is secure and compliant. Okay, because if using a multi-cloud serverless function to process financial
Mhm.
transactions,
Yeah,
you're staying in the Europe in part of the European
yeah,
Union or like friends with benefits, whatever you want to call
yeah.
it, right? Um, if you're using that, how would you enforce region-aware compliance? For being part in the Switzerland, they have to make sure they are compliant with GDPR,
Yeah,
CCPA in California. Where like if there's any Swiss company,
yeah.
if they do business with Europeans, they have to comply with the GDPR rule, right? So without affecting performance and scalability, how would you
Mhm.
make sure that there is region-aware compliance? What would you do?
Region aware compliance. Um, I think without going around too much into circles, I think we could or we should be able to implement this via a open policy agent, wherein we codify our sort of hard requirements into codes.
Okay,
And for
okay.
example, if we are retaining data or if we are processing financial data, and then the request, for example, request is coming from France, then we need to make sure that the data is being stored within the EU vicinity or
Okay.
EU
Have you worked
region.
on the OPA agent?
Not, I have not. Actually, I just had a look and tried to do it, but it
It's
was
very
too
easy.
complicated.
We have made
So
it very
yeah,
easy on the Al Razak Labs. That's why you have to do the Al Razak Labs. You know, one of the things that we're doing is using API, region-specific API gateway, right? So we are using API
okay,
gateways to restrict
okay,
ingress to the network layer. We are also
okay,
deploying functions only in compliance-approved regions.
okay,
We're using Terraform policies to deny provisioning outside legal jurisdiction. And
okay,
we are also masking and tokenizing sensitive
mhm,
data before leaving
okay,
region.
Okay.
KMS keys. So we're doing a lot of things, making sure that's done. Last question. You mentioned blob storage over there. Why would storing application logs in a cloud
Mhm.
native storage service like blob storage or S3 in AWS without versioning or immutable properties being enabled so that you can create a temper resistant, you know, in the case of a breach? Why is it important? Why would you do that? Or how would you do that? Is the question I should ask you. How would you do that?
No. Can you please repeat the question? How?
So in your diagram, it
Yeah.
says blob storage, right? An S3,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, these are just places where you can dump things, right?
Yes.
And so what would you do to enable versioning and immutability, which is like no one can change the data and make it temper resistant, temper proof, right?
Okay.
How would you do that so that if, in the event of a breach,
Yeah.
we have everything secured? How would you do that?
Where is this version? Hmm. Uh, I guess for the versioning, it's not the answer I suppose that you will be looking for, but it's just a generic something that I have in mind. I guess for versioning, what we can do is to have a sort of a copy of our logs, but I don't think that that's a viable option. But for temper resistant, what we can do is to make sure that only the individuals, like the concerned individual, have access to the storage. Not each and every one in the team has access to it. But for the versioning, I'm not really sure. I don't think so. The option like the backup options would work for it. No, so I don't think so.
Okay, we're done with the exam. Okay. Um, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So you scored, you want to know the results?
Sure.
So first of all, should I give you a tough time or an easy time?
Um, I mean, whatever you like.
I always like the best for my students, right? I'm not going to pull your leg anymore. You scored 20 out of 25 in your
Yeah.
presentation, okay?
Okay.
80%. And you scored 16 out of 25 in the Q&A. You could have
Okay.
done better, but it's okay. So 16 plus 20 divided by 50, so you got 72%, okay?
Okay.
Uh, that's your score. Congratulations in terms of passing. But again, your MCQs uh, is, the responses finals are also being tallied up. So this is 50% of the exam. The remaining 50% is the MCQs. We'll compile them together and then we'll provide you the final results, right? It may change, make it become 80, 85, I don't know, right? That is something that is going through right now. It takes some time because there's a tremendous amount of data we have to look into, right? So we are
Okay.
trying to streamline that process and make that process easier as well in the new portal. This is my recommendation for you. Right now, there are, I um, looked at the area where you're living, right? And there are masjid in your area, right? As I was able to see, and there are halal places in your area as well. This is your place, right?
Uh, yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So there are halal places. That's good, mashallah. Like you're in a good place, and there's a
Yeah.
lot of halal restaurant, restaurant Tehran, tacos, taco factory, Shawbash halal, right? Al Amir, I don't know. There's Sultan, Beirut, right? Masala House, Indian, Alibaba. Which ones is the best place?
I think Alibaba is not bad. It's a
Okay.
Turkish kebab shop. Yeah.
Okay, so good, mashallah. So you're sitting in a good place, right? Uh, you live in a very scenic area because I think this is a river or what?
It's a lake
Is this
actually.
part of? It's a lake. Yeah, it's a big lake.
Yeah,
Lake Liman, right?
Lake Lemoya.
Yes, Lake Liman. So it's a good place, mashallah. And you are sitting just close to the France as well, right? So this is the French
Yes.
border, as I can
Yeah.
see. Right. Do you know French?
Yes.
How much?
I guess I would say between level B2, B2, I guess. Yeah. Because I did
Okay.
until level B1 in school. So I think now
Okay.
it should be at B2. Yeah.
Okay. So this is what you need to do. There are more than 600 jobs in DevOps alone in your area, right? And if you look at France, if you want to add it to the France, I don't know like how this is going to work out, but if you complete the Al Razak labs, but before you do that, you have to answer some of the questions that we will reach out to you. The team will reach out to you this week or next week with a questionnaire, right?
Sure.
Which you have to answer. It will ask you, where do you live, where are you from, what nationality you have, your financial means and everything, right? So all of those things we will gather and then we will present you a plan. If you do those labs, you have already passed the exam, which is good, mashallah. That's good. If you complete those labs, you will be able to, you will have a better resume because the resume I see right now is only a 5, 6 lines, right? That doesn't justify, no one's going to hire you,
Anything.
right?
Yeah,
So you have
true.
to complete all the labs. If you complete all the labs, this will give you, and if you pass even the CKAD exam, So if I say CKAD,
I'm also
uh,
registered for CK and CKD both. I will be preparing for both of the exams soon, inshallah.
yes. So if you pass this, right, and OpenShift, like, right, and OpenShift as well. OpenShift, there is no exam requirement, right? There's no exam requirement because we are already providing you all the labs and everything.
Mhm.
So detailed. The first QB astronaut of Pakistan, he works for us now.
Okay.
He worked in a company.
Mhm.
His name is Junaid, and he's now working in our own core team on containerization, right? So there's a ton of things that we're doing right now. So he will be teaching QB how to become a QB astronaut. And all the exams and the labs that we have created are covering all the key areas. It is coming from him. He said, like, passing exam is different. But when I went into the industry, I realized, the work is done totally differently, right?
Yeah.
So even after passing CKAD, CKA, CKS will not allow you to pass the interviews. It will be the Al Razak labs because there you will have the container, right? And you have to then install everything and build up everything, all the pods and everything within that machine, right? It's
Okay.
not a simulator. It's not, like there are other companies out there who provides you web applications. This is not a
Yeah.
web application. This is the bare metal machine. You have to
Okay.
go in to configure everything. If you do that, and we will give you step by step all the steps, and the AI, Al Bari, artificial intelligence, Bari AI is there, and it will be assisting you. So he will assist you step by step. And what mistakes you're doing, it is already watching your machine in real time, right? So it is
Okay.
looking at all the logs in real time, consuming all the logs, all the error logs, the success logs, and everything. So you have to do that. If you do all of those things, I can tell you one thing, right? You will be able to easily find a job like over there. There's another thing I want to see, you know, so I'm going to show you. And this is very important for you to see because this is my recommendation to you. What I'm going to do now is quickly download your resume. Okay. Yeah, hold on. So this is my recommendation for you. Okay. It's something you have to pay attention to, right? So all I did was, and this is very important for you to understand, I give your resume to basically ChatGPT. And I said, like, look, this is my resume. Your resume is very basic. It's
Yeah,
not the best resume. It's like very basic resume. So if I pass diploma in AI ops, and if I pass CCAT, CKA, CKS, and complete Al Razak hands-on labs, can I find a better job while on a student visa and also be able to apply for immigration or work permit in Switzerland? It says yes. Based on your strong profile, completing this along with CKS and CKN, completing Al Razak hands-on labs can significantly improve your employment prospects and help you pursue immigration or a work permit in Switzerland. These are all the things. You're already doing data science and masters, right? Okay.
yeah,
You're legally allowed to work up to 15 hours a week. After completing your degree, they will give you 6 months to seek employment, right?
yeah,
Uh, why you're in a good position? Because you already have done some of the work, right? So even if you do, diploma in DevOps that you have done right now, right? And if you pass this thing,
yeah,
you will be able to apply for it, right? Employees recognize diploma with focus on automation, security, and AI. This is very important for you. This is also very important for you. This
yeah,
is going to place you and connect you with the employers. And
yeah,
this is the formula for you to secure better jobs in Switzerland right now,
yeah,
right? Your bachelor's is also from Switzerland. Your
yeah.
master's is also from Switzerland, right? You're almost paying 6,000 USD per annum, roughly that you
Yes.
mentioned to me when I converted those into Swiss francs to USD. That's what I was getting, right?
No,
So
not
that's
for per annum, for whole degree program.
for the whole degree program. Okay.
Yeah,
So
three
for the whole
year.
degree program, education
Yeah.
is subsidized, it seems like in Europe, right?
Yes.
Half of it government pays and half of it you pay, or something you pay,
True.
right?
Yeah.
Right. So you have a good opportunity of settling down over there. It's a good place, safe place, right? Way better than when was the last time you went to Pakistan?
Oh, it's been 7 years.
Don't go back,
Yeah, okay.
right? Things are
Yeah.
very bad. It will
Okay.
get worse in the coming days. It's already
Okay.
getting worse. The day that the country was created, it has been 77, 78 years. We have
Okay.
roughly, this is the 32nd prime minister. We have 32 prime ministers so far. Uh, we should have had the same number of army generals, but like, the army generals, when they come in, they stay, right?
Yeah.
So uh, it's one of the biggest monarchic countries in the world, right? So my suggestion to you would be stay there, complete those things, secure the job, secure work permit. Then you can visit that as a place to visit your family members, so on and so forth. If you haven't, are your parents alive?
Yes. I mean, they went back like a few years ago. They were here with me. I came actually with
Oh, they
them.
were here with you. Okay,
Yeah.
so there is no gap in terms of meeting your parents. So they were there with you, so alhamdulillah. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's
Yeah.
good. So stay there, complete those things, get the Al Razak program done.
Okay.
Do this thing in 3 months. Even if you don't pass your CKA, S or CCAD, whatever,
Yeah.
you will know more than what these certified guys do, right?
Okay.
That's number one recommendation from my side. First of all, whatever you've done, there's no need for you to do AI ops right now. Whatever you have done, alhamdulillah, that's
Yeah.
good. Complete the Al Razak program, get the job.
Sure.
That should be your next goal, right? So moving forward from June onwards, everyone needs to do Al Razak because they have to pay the fee for EduQual and go into Al Razak because doing Al Razak will make you get your degree or diploma, right, from us,
Okay.
right? Because you'll soon be issuing degrees as well, inshallah. But everything is now hands-on. So
Okay.
I won't be taking this exam anymore. Instead, you'll be, working on the labs, 24/7. If you want to do 24/7, you can do that, right? The system is available, right? It will guide you, it will prepare you as you're doing it. We will show you the demo as well. If you do the lab and if you make a mistake, it will tell you you have made a mistake. In 3 months' time, it will be able to talk to you as well,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So this is the next evolution of education, right?
Okay.
So this is what you have to do. That's good, mashallah. There's a lot of companies over there. Start writing blogs. Start writing blogs. It is very important for you.
Okay.
Very, extremely, very important. Let me tell you something. There's a global talent visa, right? There's a student in UK,
Yeah.
right? And he is doing his, he did his degree from UK. He went on a student visa. He did his degree. He secured a job. He couldn't find a job, so he started our courses. He
Okay.
had the PSW. He couldn't find a job. He started doing our courses. Alhamdulillah, he secured a job, right?
Okay.
Now, he is doing a job, but the problem is that his work permit is now expiring, right? Let me show you some,
Okay.
right? This is his messages, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So I told him to pass the exams, become QBS or not. There's not much time available. I kept on telling him, kept on telling him. I told
Yeah.
him, pass your exams. You don't have much time, this and that and whatnot. So he started doing that. But
Yeah.
now I'm assisting him in filing for this global visa talent, UK, right?
Yeah.
Uh, this is one of the ways which has a category, and the
Okay.
category has, if you go here, digital technologies, right? I will show you something. Now we are assisting him in terms of getting that
Mhm.
technology roles. You will see, look at all of these things. So AI, this is all AI ops.
Yeah.
This is all AI ops. This is all AI ops. This is all AI ops. You see, with blockchain, this is all AI ops, right?
Yeah.
So this is all AI ops. We are even covering all of those things as well. Now I'm preparing him to apply so that he can apply for the global talent visa, because the global talent visa will allow him open work permit for 5 years. So this is
Okay.
something we do as part of the Al Razak program. You have completed your exam.
Mhm.
Now you can take the benefits. So I'm going to follow the same process with you for Switzerland. So
So,
complete. This is now recorded. It's
okay.
there. Uh, and you will be able to find it on YouTube and all the places.
Mhm.
Follow this thing, inshallah. Follow the game plan. The game plan is Al Razak and passing the humanities exams. You don't need AI ops right now because you already have your plate full because you're
Yeah.
doing your masters. And you told me that you already flunk one or two
Yes, I'm also
exams.
working apart from my studies, so it's just gonna be too much
Exactly.
if I start
There is no
something.
need right now.
Yeah.
Passing, just doing the Al Razak labs will drain you out anyway. Everyone wants to do AI ops. It's the best course, yes. It is coming, all the immigration categories mentions that. But you don't have the resources right now.
Yeah.
Focus on what Allah has given you, work on that, and slowly build yourself.
True.
That's what you have to do, inshallah. Okay. This
True,
is my
inshallah.
recommendation for you. They will reach out to all those people who have submitted their exam fee, or are going through the exam, or have submitted their exam fee, or have passed their exams for EduQual. They are being reached out for Al Razak program. So we will reach out to you. I already know your situation because all the files comes to me. I'm right now
Okay.
working on more than 500 plans,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So every day, three
Yeah.
hours, I sit down and I look
Yeah.
into the job market. What are the jobs? This is that. This is a
Yeah.
complete system we have built up,
Okay.
right? So the system gathers all the requirements for me automatically. I just type in
Mhm.
that this is Gulraiz Khan. This is his
Yeah.
resume.
Yeah.
What are the top jobs in DevOps? Because he's doing
Okay.
level 4. So he will
Yeah.
line up all the jobs from Switzerland and European Union in front of me. I
Okay.
say, okay, select the top 10 from basic, intermediate, advanced, get all the requirements, roles, and responsibilities in front of me, build up all the labs, right? It takes
Okay.
time. We have made more than 50,000 labs so far. The target is to
True.
make 5 million labs, right? You don't have to do million labs, 5 million labs. No,
Yeah.
you only have to do 2,000 because that is applicable to you.
Okay.
That's it.
And is there a timeline that we have to do in within that particular time frame?
As long as your portal is active, you can do the labs.
Okay.
If your portal is
That's
expired, you have to renew your membership.
okay. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
But this is the only requirement. If you do it fast, it's up to you. We will
Okay.
give you containers. There is no need for any virtual machines. There is no need for anything. We will give you containers. You can
Okay.
run the containers. A big container, 16 gig container, you can only run it for one hour a day.
Okay.
4 to 8 gigs containers, you can run for 3 hours a day.
Okay.
We have defined number of tokens in Nafi.cloud. You can
Okay.
only run those tokens as
Mhm.
per the labs. Most of the labs can be done, 80% of the labs can be done by 4 to 8 gig machine,
Okay. Yeah.
right? The big ones, the heavy ones, where you do CKAD and Kubernetes stuff and OpenShift stuff, that's where you spin up the machines for 16 gigs of VRAM, 16 gigs of RAM.
Okay.
Those are expensive machines. You will
Okay.
only be able to do it 1 hour a day.
Okay.
You do
All
three
right.
hours or you do 1 hour. It's up to you.
Okay.
If you want to buy more tokens, you can do that.
Okay.
Buy more access,
Makes
saying, I
sense.
want to do more. It's fine. You can do
Mm.
that,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
But this is the minimum amount of tokens we are providing to you. And those are not simulators. Those are virtual machines. You have to work on them. These are bare metal machines.
Okay.
It's only operating system, but then you follow step-by-step process and you get them done. While you're doing it, the AI will ask you questions. The
Yeah.
employer will ask you this and that question. How would you answer that? What
Okay.
is your answer? You will
Yeah.
type in the answer. It will say, this answer is correct. No, this is not the correct answer. This is the right answer. Memorize this. Take
Okay.
notes while doing the labs,
Okay.
okay? Because it
Yeah.
is preparing you for those things as well. This is where I'm putting in all of my blood. It's like a vampire. It's
Mm.
feeding on my blood, on my intellectual, thoughts and everything, right?
Mm.
So it's feeding up on me.
Mm.
So it's like but it has much more intelligence now because that's our LLM that we are training. That is the
Okay.
reason Microsoft and other companies are, they've given us a lot of things, and alhamdulillah, we are now utilizing those technology pieces on our side, right? So
Okay.
use that, Al Razak, so that you can secure the job at a record time, inshallah. Okay?
Okay. Sure.
Inshallah. Congratulations for passing the exam. If
Thank
you
you.
have any questions,
Yeah.
feel free to contact me. Okay?
Sure. Sure.
Okay. Jazakallah khair. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.